Chapter 19. Fear and Fury. Blissfully unaware of the peril Hans and Madame Fargher faced, the Noah's Ark animals slept curled up together in the hollow. The rabbits woke first, hearing Henri's fast approach through the trees, thumping the ground in alarm with their hind legs. The rest of Noah's Ark rose nervously to find the stag and Pip breathlessly push the veil of leaves aside. "Pip!" Lucia cried in surprise, flying to her on Henri's head and drawing her into her chest with her wings. Pip felt grateful for her comfort, and as they embraced, she craned her neck over the pigeon's shoulder to check the umbrella was as she had left it, tucked inside Lucia's coop. "Honey, where have you been?" "Not now, Lucia," Henry said gravely. "There are more important things to discuss. Is everybody here?" "Yes, except for those conducting Operation Popeye, of course." "The plan has failed," the stag said. "Madame Fargher, Hans and Andre have been captured." All the ears and whiskers in Noah's Ark drooped with dismay. "Where are G.I. Joe and Leon?" Lucia cooed, her feathers ruffling with concern. "They will return soon." "What happened?" "The beavers must have been interrupted by the enemy when they were damaging the bridge. Andre gave Madame Fargher and Hans a warning before the enemy seized them all. Have Emile and his wife returned?" The animals shook their heads and whimpered with alarm. "If they don't come back, then we have to assume that they have been captured too. The beavers would never desert us. They've been with Noah's Ark since the beginning." "How could this have happened?" Lucia cooed with disbelief. "There is only one explanation," Leon called. Landing in the hollow with G.I. Joe, Lucia flew to her mate, and they fondly nuzzled their heads together. The eagle's golden eyes narrowed with fury. "Sabotage." "Sabotage?" Lucia cooed in surprise. She turned to Leon and scowled. "What do you mean by sabotage?" "One of you alerted the enemy to the plan." The animals in the hollow rumbled in alarm. "One of us?" Lucia snapped, her neck feathers ruffled defensively. "Or maybe it was you, Leon. You've wanted to be our leader since day one." "Don't be absurd," the eagle squawked, offended. "I'll follow Madame Fargher to the end, and I'll gladly die before ever colluding with the enemy. They can take both my legs before I ever tell them anything about the resistance or about Noah's Ark." Looking the white pigeon suspiciously up and down, he limped over to her with his ebony-tipped beak glinting menacingly in the moonlight, golden eyes bitterly narrowed. "Where are your scars from when you were captured by the Nazis, Lucia? Such an easy escape makes me wonder." "That's enough," G.I. Joe cooed sternly, protectively stepping in front of his mate. He stood tall, plumping his chest feathers, ready to fight the eagle if he had to. He stared into Leon's furious, gleaming eyes without a trace of fear in his own. "We must not turn on each other. Noah's Ark has been through too much for us to crack from within." "Who's to say it isn't her?" Lucia said, pointing her wing at Pip. "She could have led the enemy right to us." "Me?" Pip said, squeaking in surprise. "But I'm on your side. I would never—" "How well do we know her?" the pigeon snapped, a mixture of anger and fear showing clearly on her face. "Think about it. She'd be the perfect Axis spy. No one would ever suspect a mouse kitten. For goodness sake, she's Italian and she arrived with a Goliath rat." "See, look at her defending him." Pip shifted nervously under Noah's Ark's collective gaze. "Invader scum." "Louis," G.I. Joe said with a low, impatient coo. "And to think I wanted to be sisters with the enemy." "I'm not the enemy," Pip cried, scowling defiantly, her whiskers standing on end. She clenched her paws into fists, furiously trying to hide the hurt tearing through her. "And neither is Hans." "There she goes again. Traitors will stick together, won't they, Pip?" "Lucia, I said enough," G.I. Joe growled, flapping his wings in a burst of anger. He turned to his mate and furiously stared into her eyes. "I have known Hans since the day he first arrived in London. They are members of Churchill's secret animal army. Leave her alone." "All right," Lucia cooed softly, but her feathers still ruffled angrily around her neck. She looked at Leon and gave him a wry smile. Besides, whatever you may think, Leon, no one could have left the hollow and alerted the enemy without one of us noticing. We can't know that for sure, G.I. Joe cooed, turning to Noah's Ark, huddled together in the moonlight. Can any one of us say that we completely know each other's movements? The animals looked at one another with their ears, feathers, whiskers twitching uneasily in the gloom. Did any one of you see anything suspicious? There was silence in the hollow. Perhaps it was just bad luck, the cat said frankly, sitting still as a sphinx. What if the enemy saw the beavers start to damage the bridge and captured them there and then? Maybe what happened was a terrible accident, a rabbit said. G.I. Joe exchanged a grim glance with Henri and Leon. They all shook their heads. The plan was top secret, Leon said gravely. Noah's Ark may have known the message was coming, but only Madame Fourcade knew the words meant derailing the train. With all the bridges we could have attacked in Normandy, how could the enemy have known Nouveau Bois Bridge was our target tonight without someone revealing the plan? But isn't it possible the sentry owls were patrolling the bridge because of the train scheduled for tonight, the cat said. And after a pause, a few members of Noah's Ark nodded in agreement. Sabotage or not, Henri said after a firm puff from his nose, what we do know is Madame Fourcade, Hans and Andre are heading to the Nacht und Nebel camp in the Vento Mountains. We saw Nazi sentry owls capture them and take them with the train. Oh no, Lucia cooed with a mournful shake of her head. Those poor souls. What's the Nacht und Nebel camp? Pip said, fearing the worst. She had never witnessed such a bleak silence. It's a camp for human prisoners, a day's journey east from here, Leon said, after a sombre pause. But our kind keeps prisoners there too. It's a fortress the strongest men struggle to escape from, and they use the same tricks to ensnare us too. Many animal and human resistance fighters are taken to that place, G.I. Joe said, with a sombre coo. The conditions are terrible, and the guards are feared all over France. He glared at Leon's deformed, crippled leg curled under his body. Most don't survive the interrogations. Then we must save them, Pip said. It's too dangerous, Lucia said with a stubborn shake of her head. It's heavily guarded and we cannot risk losing more of Noah's Ark. But we have to try. We can't just leave them there. Hans and Madame Fourcade have escaped capture before. Have faith that they can do it again. But what if they can't? I know I can help. I'm small and fast. The guards will never see me. She's certainly fast, Henri said, remembering the chase Pip gave him in the forest. Believe me, no one has ever broken anyone out of the Nacht und Nebel camp, Lucia cooed, ruffling her white feathers dismissively. It's impossible. It will put too many members of Noah's Ark at risk. Then they'll never expect it, Pip insisted. We can use surprise to our advantage. The animals in the hollow mumbled quietly to one another. The little lady's got a point, G.I. Joe cooed. And she's right. We've never had such a tiny member of Noah's Ark. It could work, Leon said with a slow, confident nod of his speckled head. I know the camp. I have escaped it before, and I know where they will be held. We'll never know unless we try, Pip squeaked excitedly. I know we can do it. Don't be so stupid, Lucia snapped. Why are you listening to her? She knows nothing of war, or the lives she is risking. She turned to Pip, her face set in a scornful grimace. What are you trying to prove, Pip? We all know that you're just a little London mouse kitten, a lonely orphan with a ridiculous umbrella and no home. Your idiot ideas could kill us, and those that we love. Just because you have no one doesn't mean we should too. Lucia's words were a dagger to Pip's heart. She clenched her jaw, desperately trying to think of something to say, but the hurt she felt tied her tongue in knots. They kill everything at the Nacht und Nebel camp. What makes you think they won't murder all of you too? the white pigeon continued, cruelly narrowing her eyes. Do you even know what they will do to you when they catch you? They'll torture you for information. They'll chop off your ears and your whiskers and your tail. She turned to Noah's Ark, who collectively cowered at her words. She'll give all our secrets to them. They'll be led straight to us, and everybody will die because of a mouse kitten. No, Pip cried, trembling with furious hurt. I would never let that happen. Stop it, Lucia, G.I. Joe growled, seeing his mate's milky blue eyes flash with enjoyment. The white pigeon paused, but a gleeful smile drew across her beak. Unless you're one of them and you're trying to report back, trapping more of us with you as you go, she cooed softly. What a successful little spy you'll be. Leave her alone, Henri bellowed with a stamp of his hooves, just as Leon screeched angrily and spread his powerful, speckled wings. One more word, Lucia, the eagle said, glaring at the white pigeon, and I'll deal with you. I haven't eaten pigeon for many months. I'm sorry, she cooed, innocently fluttering her eyes as she flinched under Leon's gaze. I'm only teasing. It's what sisters do, isn't it, Pip? I don't care what you do, Pip said, turning from where she was standing on Henri's head. She stormed down the stag's neck, clambering over his shoulder and the length of his long leg to reach the ground. Rot, for all I care, because you'll never be a friend or a sister of mine. I'm going to save Hans, Madame Foucard and Andre, with your help or not. With that, she marched out of the hollow, under the fallen tree, and into the night alone, only looking over her shoulder briefly for one last glimpse of the umbrella. Don't you dare take her there, bulked Lucia, seeing G.I. Joe's wings spread. Joe! Joe! Ignoring his mate, G.I. Joe took to the air, with Leon following close behind. The white pigeon's face fell with despair. No, what are you doing? She cried, flicking her wings erratically in desperation. Please stop. You'll all die. It's a day's journey from here. What even makes you think they'll still be alive when you get there? We need to stay together for all our sakes. You stay here where you'll be safe, Henri said, calmly turning to the moonlit forest. If you won't look after your own, we will, and you'd better take good care of Pip's umbrella. If it's not in perfect condition on our return, prepare yourself to be plucked alive. You didn't think we'd miss out on all the fun, did you, little lady? G.I. Joe said with a smile, swooping past Pip as she stormed through the forest on her own. Her strong wings propelled him forward, and he led the way through the trees with Leon by his side. Climb on, Pip, Henri said, catching her up as she grinned triumphantly at the birds. He dipped his grand head to the ground beside her. There's no time to waste. Her heart leapt to have others with her. She climbed up Henri's nose to his antlers once more, and the four of them began their journey to the Nacht und Nebel camp. As each of them felt the thrill of the unknown thump in their chests, Pip thought once more of the umbrella lying safely in the hollow, and hoped Mama and Papa would have understood that she was doing the right thing.